Welcome to the Voice of Bold Business Radio, the show about ways to stay competitive in a changing market, break through business plateaus, and respond to the changing expectations of today's customers. Your host, Jess Dewell, is a rapid growth entrepreneur, consultant, and business advocate with a 20-year track record of business excellence. She candidly discusses how to achieve your growth strategy and realize your company's unfulfilled potential. Now, here's Jess.
You are in the right place for conversations about current needs that we as business leaders face regarding technology, customer expectations, and quickly changing markets. This program is about what it means to reach our short-term goals and increase our confidence in our long-term positioning. This is program 210, Avoid Language That Erodes Credibility. That title is so loaded. I can't wait to see where this conversation goes today in our panel discussion. Joining us today is Dr. Ingrid Pyka, and she brings her passion for the success of small businesses and their role in today's constantly changing America. Every interaction she has, she role models how to use the critical analytical processes, how to implement, and how to evaluate effective systems and the use of foresight. She works with and trains management and ownership teams. Also joining us is Liz Wendling, a nationally recognized business and sales consultant, an emotional intelligence coach, and the author of 5 books. Straightforward and practical, Liz develops customized programs for professionals who are ready to modernize their sales language and make a profound difference in what they sell. All right, Dr. Ingrid, what does modern sales language look like and sound like?
Well, Jess, first of all, I love the way that you incorporated 2 different senses, because sales language, it really is about the different senses. And I like talking about the 6 senses when we deal with any kind of a business entity and how people perceive us. So the first one, obviously, we've got the sight, we've got the sound, even smell and taste, and then the feel, and don't forget the sense of the gut feeling. That is the 6th sense. And every moment, either if we go into a facility or if someone's coming to visit us or when we're communicating in our sales language, the more of each one of those senses that we can capture within all, the better of an impact on language we're using. Because we have to look at it from the perspective of, yes, you as the business, but also about the buyer, who's buying it, and ultimately who's the end user. That composite all the way together to develop a continuum and a constant messaging all the way around.
Thank you very much. I have so much I want to say. I will wait. Liz, what does modern sales language look like and sound like?
Modern language looks and sounds like a brand new conversation. It's a new way to show up with different words, a way to stand out and differentiate yourself by not saying the same thing as everyone else on the planet and everyone else in your industry. There's about a 5-decade-old cliche that says, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And that makes sense 5 decades ago, prior to the internet. But that cliche no longer holds true. It made sense when we did a lot of face-to-face, human-to-human interaction. But now, because we're in a time where emails and texting have taken over a significant percentage of how we interact, these days it's both. It does matter what you say, and it does matter how you say it. But unfortunately, many professionals get kind of stuck in this loop, and they follow this well-worn path when they're in their sales meetings, sales situations, and sales conversations, and they sound old school, not modern. They're actually using words and phrases that worked in the past, but now make them look outdated. And they do and say the same things over and over without really ever stopping to check for efficiency and asking themselves, is this really working? Is what I'm saying getting me anywhere or getting the attention or piquing someone's interest in the way that I want to do that? So I always say it's about breaking the patterns of our predictable language in order to break the patterns of our prospects' thinking. So, for example, when someone says, hi, how are you? Good, how are you? Or you walk into a store and someone says, can I help you find something? No, thanks, just looking. It's all these patterns of programmed language that does nothing to change the conversation.
You know, all right. There's so many places we can go, and I'll bet we'll go a lot of different places. And I know the two of you, strong-willed, confident, accomplished businesswomen, are going to guide this conversation as much, if not more than me at this point. Because I'm like, here we go. Here we go.
Bring it on.
I was thinking about both of your answers just now. And as you were sharing the information, what I noticed amongst both is that we're working in a place with a new place with old rules. So how do you find out where in your business you're in a new place and you're using those old rules?
I could speak to that directly. When you realize what you used to do no longer works. When you have conversations with potential clients and they used to say yes to you, or used to say, great, let's get started, or I'd like to find out more information. But now you keep hearing, well, I'm going to do a little more research. I still have 27 other websites I want to look at, or I want to go talk to a few other people. And all of a sudden, what you used to do doesn't produce the same result.
I agree with that very much, is looking at the pattern and the history. The other thing that is interesting to consider is in the past, right, we did, as Liz was saying, we had that opportunity that was a very different marketing aspect where we could connect with people directly versus here we are online and you know, I can't go out, reach out and give you guys a hug or such. A handshake is gone, and it goes along with that. And that's why when I was mentioning the different senses that we were talking about, that sales language, that's the way you are still able to connect with your audience and your target market by creating that almost facade so that they can build that connection and that relationship within their own selves. So the more you can color the world for them, the more you can develop that sense of what they're losing through either the phones, right? Because we're all in Instagram or the Facebook or the Zoom. The books are still alive. It's learning exactly what your audience most connects to so that you can still pull back from those old sources that are still very valid today, but learn how to adjust them into the new evolution of our marketing today.
Yep.
With a twist.
With a twist.
With a twist. Huh. Yeah. And jumping deeper into that, this concept of this direct to indirect communication, and the fact that many companies, and I would say mine included, I am at fault for this, I'm communicating one-to-one, even though people are indirectly watching. And so what I have found is that in our business at Red Direction, understanding a specific pain point can be very difficult because, and in every business, because we're a little close to it. We think we know, but we're not listening, or we're only validating what we think we know.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I also think that we don't have one pain point anymore. Every person that comes to a sales situation or needing something from a professional, our pain points are different. So in the past, we used to think it was, they want to close more sales, so that's what we want to sell them, is sales training. Or they want to lose weight, so I want to sell them a weight loss product. When if we don't get in there and change the language and the questions and find out what's under the surface and the deeper level, then all we're doing is the same old school sales stuff that we did in the past. We haven't really changed how we're communicating with someone.
Yes, it truly is about learning what they want versus knowing what they need. We know what they need because we see the spinning wheels of why they can't get to that next sales process. Why can't they message their marketing materials correctly? Why can't they figure out how to use a live video? And so we see the logic of that, yet on the other hand, they don't. Emotion drives. And that's where stories are so powerful, when we're able to create a relationship with someone that we don't even know. And we have to learn, okay, what is it they want? Jess, you said it so well. And in that disconnect that we have, I think it's a real component where we still can use this language in a way of surveys. How do we ask them, what do you want anyway? Or what's important to you? Or more importantly, just like you're saying, Liz, what are the pains you're feeling? What do you wish would be gone? What if? And then listening. We don't listen enough. And the relationships, you listen. Then you hear.
Our ears will never get us in trouble, but our mouth does when it comes to those conversations.
Absolutely.
How do you listen? Let's just actually go into some steps. How do you actively listen?
Be present is to actually look someone in the eyes and be present with them. Watch their lips move, look into their eyes, connect with them from the heart, not the head, and actually be in the presence of someone and hear what they're saying, really feel what they're telling you, and get out of here. Get out of the need to, I know what to say. I want to answer that right away, or I have a better idea, and be present.
Yeah, it's not about me, it's about you. It's not about us, it's about them. It's how can we learn more? And so asking questions really, I have found, has been the key in me being able to listen, is because I don't ask the traditional questions. It's like you were saying, Liz, it's like, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? Those are the traditionals.
And it doesn't get us anywhere.
It doesn't. Right. When you direct it to more unique situations of what's going on in that person's life, what do they want? It allows that.
Yes. And even when you take it into texting or email communication, when someone says, right out of the gate, the first words out of their email are, how are you? Like you really care, first of all. And we think that's creating a connection, but actually it's only aggravating and irritating people when you say, hey, I hope you had a great weekend. And I'm not saying don't be nice. I'm just saying that nowadays that comes across cheesy and phony. And that's where our language has to start changing. We're never going to create any interest if we keep going back to what we did 30 to 40 years ago. And that's the number one way to open up an email, to send someone an email. Hope you're well. Hope all is well. Hope you had a good weekend. It's the number one way. And it's the most annoying. So if anybody wants to keep doing that and annoying people, keep adding that in your emails.
I'd like to add something here too, if I may. When we look at communicating with people and seeing the different methods, in the olden days, we only had, way olden days, it was only the way that when you were going and meeting people in person. Then it transitioned over to the telephone, and now we had telephones and people, and the cold calls started developing slowly. So now we have not only the telephone in person, we also have, and we had letters, of course, so the written matter. Now we have the emails. We also have Facebook, instant messaging, Instagram, LinkedIn, all these new modalities. Everyone has a different preference. So a big part of this languaging is learning, once again, to listen, and that means maybe just ask, what does your target market in your audience, what do they prefer? I got some clients that all they do is text. I've got others that really would prefer the email.
Right.
And you've got that want that phone call. So we have to understand that the modalities have also shifted with our progress, and who knows what it's going to be like later, right?
No kidding. So it's the modality, and then it's what do you say so that someone wants to answer your email. and actually finish a phone call with you. If you start out the same way we did 30, 40 years ago, hi, how are you? Good, how are you? How was your weekend? People only have 3 to 7 seconds now. It's like, what are you calling me for? Tell me. So we've lost precious time. So we used to have 20 seconds to get someone's attention. Now we have 3 to 7. So why waste it on stuff that makes us look old school, outdated, insincere, and cheesy? When we can say, Ingrid, the purpose of my email, or the reason I called today, Ingrid, and then get to the point. You can still be kind and nice. I'm not suggesting that it's all about business, but that the superficial chit chat is just aggravating these days. And it's not just me saying this. I interviewed hundreds of people for my last book, and they all told me lots of things that they wish salespeople and professionals would stop doing and do something different. And that was one of them.
What I'm hearing you both talk about is directness, that it is okay to be direct.
Yeah. Because
part of directness is actually efficiency. Am I hearing you both right?
You got it.
So I think also is you alluded to this, Liz, is that people think of us, oh my God, it's a sales pitch, and what is it that you're going to want to sell me now? What do I have to make that decision on? And we don't have time for that nowadays. Our world is moving so quickly past us that the clearer things are, the more that it is open, it builds the trust. So any of the communication, and I think this is something that has remained the same actually in the years past and eons past to now, is the trust, right? When we think about the quacks from the days old, they succeeded because people trusted them because of the nuances.
Yeah.
And having seen that over and over, that shifted, so people's distrust increased. So now in our languaging, we have to overcome the trust factor because so many people have been fooled and lied to in the past.
Right.
So,
and that's excellent point there, because in the past it was always salespeople that you couldn't trust. Now it's every profession under the sun, because everyone sells something now, or always has. But now it's like, oh, that's a financial planner, I don't trust her. Or he's an attorney, I don't trust him. Now, trust is at an all-time low because everyone is selling, but they're not doing a great job at it. They're selling like we did 30, 40 years ago. And that's why there's a modern process that has to be updated.
Which I think still brings it to the point of you have to build a relationship. So if we're looking at sales language as what am I going to write on my email?
Yeah.
Yes, direct.
Beyond
right.
that. Right.
There's still a relationship. How can we help you?
Yeah.
Like, how can I help versus how can I sell?
Right.
It's a complete shift in dynamic.
Yep.
And look at this. We're bringing in senses. The very first words out of Dr. Ingrid's mouth were, it's all about the senses. Well, I paraphrased that. Nonetheless. And then what did we hear? We heard, hey, it's all about just being clear. And that's what I heard you, Liz, paraphrasing what you said at the beginning. And with that, we're going to take our break. Use hashtag VBB Radio and join in the conversation, because alluded to by both Dr. Ingrid and Liz, we have a need to communicate clearly and effectively. So join in the conversation and share your tips, share what you have seen, share your lessons around where you are today versus the things that you needed to do before. And with that, we'll be right back.
You're listening to the voice of Bold Business Radio. In every program, we share stories, tips, and concepts that benefit short-term goals and increase confidence in long-term positioning. For additional perspectives on your growth strategy, Jess Dewell is your business advisor and consultant. Go to voiceofboldbusiness.com and click the Find Out More button to get started. Now, back to Jess.
This is program 210, Avoid Language That Erodes Credibility. And I'm talking with Liz Wendling, a nationally recognized business and sales consultant, and Dr. Ingrid Pyka, founder of IBP Consulting. We're going to jump back into the credibility piece. We've already talked about trust, which is an incredibly important aspect of all communication and effective communication that gets us a result. how does credibility factor into this?
Enormously so. The credibility is just the fact that people can understand you can do this, and you've seen some successes in the past. It may not necessarily be that you have a whole slew of $1 million successes in the past, but it may also be just the credibility of you are who you are, and you're able to produce value. It's about that value and commitment that we can, again, bring it back to the trust. But the credibility, it's you still have to recognize, and nowadays we have that huge advantage of being able to record video testimonials, of writing it onto LinkedIn and putting it into a speaker sheet or so. And in our books we have those. That credibility is shared by word of mouth, and when you got the word of mouth, your trust builds up from there. What do you think, Liz?
Well, and the credibility piece, I'm thinking from a sales conversation piece, no matter where it starts, whether it's online first and then you meet face to face, but it is truly about that initial connection. I think you can start to build credibility when you intentionally connect with people, when you actually set out to do that as your mission instead of I'm going in for the kill, or I need a new client. And it's that heart-to-heart conversation that you have with someone where someone actually feels like you care. That builds such credibility, because when someone sits in the presence of another person who truly, truly cares and you can feel it, credibility and trust skyrocket when that happens. But when it feels like it's just a prospect in a situation of a buyer and a seller, and credibility isn't built there, then it just feels like a sales transaction, not this beautiful interaction. So credibility is built from that, I believe, from that connection piece. And I think you can do that very quickly, and by how truly you are connecting with that person intentionally.
So this is kind of a trend that I recognize having changed, right? There's always an element of relationship marketing regardless. Yet some business is transactional and some business is recurring. So there's the relationship factor has a different quality, a different context, and maybe even a different feel in the words that we use, because sometimes we are about the transaction. And so is it appropriate to say, yes, everybody, even in transactional situations, also must rely more and more and more on the relationships we have?
I really think it depends on what you're selling, what your products and services are. Sometimes it is just pulling out 79 cents for a pack of gum and it's a transaction, or buying someone's book, it's a transaction, but it's what happens after that. Is there something else in that relationship that happens? So if somebody buys a book from me and I'm there to watch them buy that book, then I'm going to offer up something to them that I appreciate you buying my book and reading my work. So if you ever get stuck or something comes up in the book that you want to have a conversation around, that's my way of saying thank you. So I can still build that relationship, even though they're going home and with my book, not me. But I think any chance that you can put that relationship, you can make those little subtle connections, a nice email reminder, a phone call, a card, those type of connections build relationships.
I really like this question, and this is one thing that I when I'm working with clients, we succinctly do this right from the onset. There is a difference, and I think every service, every organization, every company, every firm has two components to their sales. Mm-hmm. First of all, they have the products that they provide to the end user or to the buyer in exchange for money.
Right.
And that could be anything such as the services that they're providing. So if I'm doing a webinar or if I'm doing a private consultation, this is still in my little world here, a product. It's something that I'm providing in exchange for the investment. The other half of that is the service component. And so this is the client experience. So when we look at the transaction itself, I feel it actually, everyone has both involved, because if I'm providing a service or a retail, whether it's my book or it's a webinar or it's a private consultation or a strategy session, when I'm providing that, I could be handing them my book and getting the money, and then it's gone. And just like Liz said, there's a continuum. If I hand them the book with a smile, if I'm buying a hamburger and I get the hamburger with a smile and I'm excited about it, yes, I exchanged it for the hamburger, but we all know the hamburger tastes so much better when it's in a great ambiance and it's really an awesome experience. So this experience and the product work hand in hand to provide success. And that's where there are very different strategies for an organization to be able to develop both in the best. You want high quality as well as the highest service and customer experience, so it's 5-star all the way around.
Talk to me a little bit about your personal values and which of your personal values shows up in the way that you communicate and the way you set up and guide the sales portion of the business that you're responsible for.
My values are essentially collaboration. That's a big one. It's a collaboration because that is an incorporating component of listening and then engaging so that those that I'm working with have the ability to portray their skills and their talents and know that they are being listened to, and everyone is working together for the same thing. So collaboration is huge. To make that work, ultimately, it's about communication. So communicating openly and being cognizant of the different methods that people learn, that people connect. Some are more physical and they love the hugs. Some you can recognize, don't touch me. Even the handshake is hard enough, right? And being aware of that and just understanding those. So that's really those two key, collaboration and communication, because then that builds upon what everyone's strength is to get to the vision that they want.
That's good, Ingrid. I would say mine would be connection and honesty. That I can't work with anybody I don't connect with. I have in the past, I might have worked with anybody because I thought that's what I was supposed to do when I started my business. I didn't know that I actually could work with only people that I like. And in the last 10 years, I feel like I've been able to do that in my business. And when I really feel a connection with someone, I know that I can help them in their goals and growth that they come to me for. But it's with brutal honesty on both sides. I always say to my clients on our very first coaching call, you and I have an open relationship here. We're going to talk to each other. If you don't like something or you want to push against something or I have to poke the bear a little bit with you, let's give each other permission to do that, because that's where growth happens. I'm not going to let you get away with doing something that's hurting your business. I'm going to call you out on that, and that's why you hired me. So they appreciate that honesty, because a lot of times people don't want to meet them with that kind of honesty. They'd rather just say, oh, it's okay. Business is hard. It's hard to use social media. You don't have to use it. And they give them permission to fail. So I really appreciate it when a client says, no, I'm paying you to do that. I need you to tell me where I need to shift so that I can get the growth that I want to have in my business. Because I like it when that's done to me as well. My coach is brutally honest with me as well.
In a world where it's easy to feel jaded, because while we're so connected, we still feel very unconnected. We tend to all beat around the bush more than ever before. And it is a detriment to our growth. It's a detriment to us staying on mission in our company. It's a detriment to where we're going to be at when we hit the sales ceiling, and when we're talking about revenue growth through sales, when we hit that growth plateau. And so what are some things from your personal experience that when somebody's hit that growth plateau, right, going back toward the beginning of our conversation, the things that show up in terms of how we know that we're doing something an old way, we're doing some in a new place with old rules, coming back to that and thinking about this whole thing, growth plateaus, do you have an experience that you can share about having hit one and what you did about it to figure out what the new way was and how to get results again?
We think we're always perfect, right? And then, and as a consultant, as a coach, boy, I can't ask anyone for help because that's my specialty, right? And realizing that, boy, I'm going to just kind of be eating on myself if I'm asking for a coach. Well, first of all, yes, we need to ask for help, and we need to recognize what it is. I was doing an radio interview just this last weekend too about, and I mentioned the same thing of being able to recognize when you ask for help. And everyone that was there started going, oh yes, that's so, you gotta do that. And we're all guilty of never asking for help. So we're recognizing that it's not cannibalism when we're getting another coach and when I work with someone that can help me see it from the other perspective. So doing that allowed me to recognize, hey, yes, I can write a book. I can publish a book. That's awesome. Wow. I can try, sorry, there goes that. I can do Facebook videos. A lot of you know where that one is going.
I know where that one came from.
Yeah. I can do a Facebook Live and see how that works. I can actually jump on a call with wonderful people like you, Jess, and Liz, and just go from there. So going outside the box and thinking what's new and option, it's huge. So when I work with people, the biggest thing that I step back with them is saying, again, stop and what is your mission? Where do you really want to go is the vision. But if you don't have that initial mission, the why are you doing what you're doing? You can't align it with the evolution of our current sales language and of our current where we're going in your target market. And that's really what sales language is about. It's about your market. So how do you parallel that and bring it to your new vision of the evolution of not way back there, but we're going for a future and we're going big. Yeah.
And I always say I'm a coach with a coach, and I am proud of that. I'll never be without one. Sometimes depending on what I'm working on, sometimes two coaches at one time. And there was a time where I thought asking for help was a weakness. And I see that when clients call me, that they're at that point where they're like, well, I think I'm okay and business is pretty good, but they're calling me for help. So I could see that in them because that was me at a time. So for me to always have a coach to be able to see something in a different way, or I bring something to her and she'll help me unpack it. And it's so beautiful to watch her in action and coach me. And for me to be that person to be the recipient of coaching, because now I know what my clients feel like when I coach them. Mm-hmm. And then the other part for me was when I first started my business was I felt like I couldn't invest in myself. I couldn't spend money on myself. It was all like put into the business. And I realized the moment I started investing in me was when my business started exploding. That's when I realized, oh, I pay for that. I get this skill because I didn't have it. Now I own that skill forever, but I had to buy that skill. I had to invest in that skill in order to have that skill. And I think that's what a lot of people resist now is they know they're missing a skill, for example, sales skills, and a lot of times they don't want to pay for it. They think they could just get a book and read a book and figure out how that works internally for them and then how to bring that into their business. It's not like it's nothing like it used to be. So it's getting that help that's customized to you so that you can then take that skill and go make money with that.
And I would add to that, there's only so much that we can do on our own to get, because we only know what we know. And it can only help us learn maybe what we don't know, but we'll never know all that we don't know without it when we work in a vacuum. And that I strongly believe in. I was thinking about this, and I'm actually thinking about a past boss of mine. It's not one of my favorite bosses, but an okay one nonetheless. I learned something from every single person that was above me throughout the years. And this particular person came to me, and I'm in my 20s. So of course let's just put the stigma on the concept of what it is to be 20 and how you receive information. Totally true. having sold a company, leading a business, running a whole bunch of other businesses all at the same time with immense success, made that exponentially, my ego was really big, to say the least. And so here's this guy, and I'm going to just call him a guy. Here's this guy who, with the best intention, had no idea how to talk to me, came to me and said, Jess, we've got a problem. And I'm thinking, how do we have a problem? I'm exceeding all my sales goals. I've got all this stuff going on. I'm having the best time of my life. I'm all around the world in client offices, at conferences, doing all of these things. What problem is there? And you know what he said to me? He goes, your turnover is too high. And I was like, what kind of turnover are you talking about? He goes, your people turnover. And I was just like, whatever. Until my sales stop, let's not talk about this. And that was my bad, because now looking back, right, hindsight being 2020, what he was actually trying to say to me and didn't know how, and of course this is my interpretation, is that, Jess, because of the way you're doing things in spite of yourself, not in alignment with yourself. Does that make sense? And that if I was able to reduce turnover, I would have a stronger, more efficient team that would actually learn how to work together. And those talents could have been leveraged. And who knows what my growth could have been? Wow. Who knows what the acquisition of new clients or additional sales from existing clients could have been, regardless of that success. Isn't that an interesting concept to think about? Yeah.
Growth spurt there.
Yeah. So if you're watching this, old boss, and you know who you are, which I know you watch the show sometimes, just know, thank you. That was actually the biggest lesson that I have taken away from anybody.
Wow.
Yes.
Lessons are good. Lessons are
real good. And so you never know where they're going to come from. And are we willing to hear them? And are we ready to hear them? I think also becomes part of the conversation at that point.
Right.
There are probably a lot of things that we haven't talked about in regards to modern sales language and credibility and how we keep it. Is there anything on your mind that we haven't talked about today that you would like to bring up in this conversation so far?
I'd like to add something, this only because I had it just popped into my head from a conversation I had yesterday. I was with a group of people, and almost exclusively all of them said, I just want to be authentic. I just want to be an authentic salesperson. I just want to be authentic. Can you teach me how to be authentic? And I said, hell no. If you're not authentic already in your sales conversations, I don't teach authenticity. I teach you how to show up and be genuine with the right method and the right language. But if you don't come to the call with your authenticity, and you're not an authentic person, you either are or you're not. Do you just leave authenticity in the car when you're on a sales call? No. If you're an authentic person, it comes with you in everything you do. So there's this myth out there that people are teaching authentic sales strategies. There's no such thing as an authentic sales strategy. You are either authentic using great skills and making great connections with people, or you're not. So authenticity, I always say, is not a sales strategy. So that makes you lose credibility when you have to pronounce you're authentic. If you have to say, I want to be authentic, that actually makes me think you're not very authentic if you have to announce it. So that erodes credibility.
Yeah.
Good point, Liz. I would add that when we look at the difference between sales language from before and after, and we had already talked about the look like and the feel like or sound like, the sales language, regardless of who your market is, and regardless if you're sales or retail, the sales language that you're using is about your audience. It is about where are they now and where would they see themselves being? What do they think they're going to do? And being able to create that picture for them so that they're almost there. That's the type of language you want to use. And it is going to constantly evolve. We can give you how to do it now and in a week, depending on what's going on in the time frame, right? And you look at the news, things change so quickly. How quickly did things change from one moment to the next in 2001? So whatever works now probably will not work in the future.
Right.
And even if you try it now, if you use it now and you do it now, see what happens. And then just change it and see what happens then. And just kind of create those benchmarks to yourself. Okay, I'm going to apply this language right now, and I'm going to measure what the results are. And then if it's working, great. Let's keep doing it. Keep measuring it. And then if it doesn't work, or it's not getting something, or you have some, test that one and then see if that language is giving you the results you're expecting. So always be planning to put it out there and be ready to change, because if you're not ready for change, you are going to be stuck.
And I think you're right about the testing it out piece, because we haven't actually talked about what the language sounds like. But for example, when you say to someone, and this is a credibility killer, I know you're busy, so I won't take up too much of your time. I know you have a lot on your plate, but I just need 5 minutes of your time. And people can't lower themselves and come across as I'm lower than you are, and you're busier than me, and we lose credibility. No, we are two human beings coming together at the same level. So instead of saying to someone, I know you're busy, so I won't take up too much of your time, first of all, you just did. It took up some of my time by saying that stupid line. Don't even say it. Just say, hey, I wanted to talk to you about something. So that's old school language. That's the language that erodes credibility. And can I get a minute of your time? Does anything take a minute, first of all? Or can I grab you for a second? Or how are you today? All that stuff we talked about earlier. That decreases credibility. When you're dragging in stuff that we used 40 years ago in sales into a world where we don't need that anymore. I always say, everyone is busy. Toddlers are busy. So when you say to someone, I know you're busy, so I won't take up too much of your time, you really just took up too much of my time, and you just aggravated me in the process. Just get to the point. That's what people are screaming now. Tell me what you want and get to the point.
As we wrap up our show today, I want to know, and I know the audience wants to know, what makes it bold to build credibility by choosing our language wisely?
So what makes it bold is that you're willing to step out of traditional language and say something different that actually shakes and wakes someone up and makes someone look at you and go, oh, that was different, or oh, no one ever said that to me before. Is to step into a whole new conversation and leave all that other stuff that doesn't do anything to build trust, credibility, leave that behind and try some different language that piques someone's interest, gets their attention. We're trying to get someone's attention, but we're not going to get someone's attention if we're not bold or we don't change what we're saying. You can't get someone's attention if you're using language that sounds like, I'm really sorry to bother you, but could I have a few minutes of your time? That's not bold. Bold is, hey, yes, I had a question for you. Can we chat for 4.5 minutes? And just asking for that and being bold enough to say, it's only going to take me 4.5 minutes. I'll start the timer now. And speak to people as a human being, not prospect, suspect, or someone you're trying to sell to. We're always two human beings coming into a conversation that we get to shape and frame.
Well said. So I think when we're talking about bold, traditionally the term means loud, brash, big, colorful, and such. Bold in this case is to be different, is to be authentic, as we were talking about before. Truly is about being authentic. Liz, you said that very well. Bold is about daring to listen, daring to truly understand your strengths and your skill sets, and how those connect as to being either the solution to your market's problem, as well as to being, whether it's a solution or whether it's something pleasurable, that's really something that they want to do. But bold is understanding what your target market is, people that are going to invest in your product, what they're looking for, and being daring enough to put it out there and willing to change it if you need to.
Thank you both for being here today. This is the Voice of Bold Business Radio, and guess what? All the program notes are going to be on the website, voiceofboldbusiness.com/P210. That's voiceofboldbusiness.com/P210. You can also search the site for Avoid Language That Erodes Credibility. All right, you've listened, you've watched, you probably have your own opinions flying, and you're already using hashtag VBB Radio. What else can you do? You can rate our program. You can give us feedback. You can tell us your part of the story, because it's our experiences that tell us how to be effective leaders. And guess what? We're the ones defining it. So why not have a conversation about it? And with that in mind, remember, all the experience that was shared here is for you to use and practically apply to help you have a few less bumps in the road with the questions, with the problems that you're grappling with in your business, in your role today. With that, let me leave you with this question. What will you change in your communication to avoid language that erodes credibility?
The Voice of Bold Business Radio gives you insights about how to achieve your company's growth strategy. When you aren't seeing the growth results you want, it's time to get an outside perspective. To discuss your specific situation around growth strategy, work with us. Visit voiceofboldbusiness.com and click Find Out More. Special thanks to the Scott Treatment for technical production. Thank you for joining us.